Peter Mogridge, welcome to Womar TV at the Doncaster UK Martial Arts Show. Peter, you've been coming to these for some time. Can you tell us what draws you back every time?
What draws me back is my 10th year. It's the people. It's become a family. I get to see a lot of people, top martial artists that I've worked, trained, or had the privilege of being with for the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years that I've been in martial arts. There's people I've met here that I trained with when I was a kid. They don't come every year, but I've got to see them again. I come here to share my knowledge of my Wing Chun with people and spread the love, representing my Sifu, which is Grandmaster Samuel Kwok. So that's one of the big reasons that draws me back every year.
Right, Peter. So people get to know your martial arts journey. Well, how did you start out in martial arts, and what got you involved in martial arts?
Well, probably like many, I'm a 68 baby, so coming through 72, 73, the old Bruce Lee boom, Bruce Lee craze. We all saw the movies when we were kids, and everybody wanted to be Bruce Lee, kung fu fighting. Everybody was kung fu fighting, but nobody knew what it was. So in those days there weren't as many schools. So let's have a look around. And the first thing you find is a karate school. So you start karate thinking you're Bruce Lee, and it's not until you're probably halfway through your belt system that you realise, look, nothing like Bruce Lee, and nothing. What I'm doing is like Bruce Lee. I started off in Shotokan originally, many moons ago, and it was my uncle who took me to my first karate lesson. And there was a bit of punch and a bit of kicking. I thought, oh yeah, this is Bruce Lee. This is Bruce Lee. And it wasn't until and I'm talking years and years later, I even realised it was nothing like Bruce Lee was doing. So yeah, like many people of my generation, it was a big Bruce Lee influence. And then coming up through the 80s and 90s, we had Van Damme, Bloodsport, Frank Dukes, and bless. I've had the privilege of meeting Frank Dukes. So it's things like that where you see him in the films being portrayed by, Jean-Claude Van Damme, who was a legend of the 80s and 90s, and you get to meet the real people that they portray. That's a massive honour as well. So it is a great big martial arts family, and I love it. So yeah, I've gone off key completely there, haven't I? But yeah, so that's what got me into it was Bruce Lee.
Yeah. We know you got into Wing Chun and you've done Shotokan first. So how did you find? Did you go Shotokan and then you found Wing Chun, or was there something in between?
Again, a very picky journey. Again, Bruce Lee was very, I don't believe in belts, but holding my trousers up. And I held the same philosophy at the beginning to start with. And I was no, I don't need to do belts. And I went around to many different clubs over different years. I've tried Aikido, I've done Thai boxing, I've done Wadoryu Karate. I did that for years under Peter Spanton's clubs of Higashi back in the day when you had Lloyd Russell, it was Lloyd Russell for Higashi, and John Harvey and Luton, and many people like that. I went to John a lot later and went back to Higashi again. Wing Chun, I started, went through quite a bit of the system and then stopped, went on to something else.
Can I start you there? You went to Wing Chun. What were you under? Always training you there?
It was a guy called Matthew Bryan.
All right.
Many years ago in the YMCA in Bedminster.
All right.
Down and Toddington. No, not Toddington. It's up here now. It was on a hill. I lived there in a squat as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a place around that area on the bottom. It was by Wells Road anyway. That's what I remember. I used to catch a bus to get there. So, and I did a short while with him and then moved on to Wadoryu. Ended up training with Sean Vieira, Nathan Lewis, and became part of the Bristol Death Squad, training out at Trinity and St Paul's in Bristol, which is very, how can you say, dark area. So as a white person training in that sort of area, it was a hell of a lesson. Welcomed with open arms, absolutely beautiful people, loved every minute of it. Many sessions being sick, being trained so hard, their training sessions were hard. When I got older, I ended up doing door security, working in St Paul's as well, on the Moon Club and Lakota, and all different names over the years, and many clubs in Bristol. So I ended up getting work through a lot of the Wadoryu boys as well. So I spoke to Sharon Gill and still speak to Sean. And I spoke to Nathan a few times. So that was a nice little big chunk, sort of from 10 to about 18, 19 I was then. And then also with the Higashi team, fighting with Winston and all the rest of them in the Bristol team in '96, where I think we won the British Nationals at Cheltenham Open
Wow.
in 1996.
Wow.
And then come back to Wing Chun, then went back to Samuel Kwok Wing Chun. I've been under Sifu Kwok probably the last 15, 20 years now.
So how did you find Sam?
So I was friends with this guy, and his dad was undisputed bare knuckle boxing champion of the world.
Oh.
So he'd be undefeated 114 times, came out of retirement, and Grandmaster Kwok used to teach him. So when I was having trouble with the club that I was doing Wing Chun at, I got ripped off of money, and he was trying to rip me off on a contract and everything else. So somebody said to me, well, the son said to me, he said, I'll speak to Samuel for you. So he spoke to Samuel, went and had a meeting with Samuel, went through all my system with him, and I graded all the way up to Sifu level with him. The full shebang, dummy, bowl, knives, the full lot. So he gave me a Sifu status underneath himself. And then I've been training with him ever since. We became really close friends. He used to come and stay at my house. Come and stay at my house for weeks, in fact. He was in the spare room for quite some time at some points when he was down here. Got friendly with my kids, taught my daughter Wing Chun, taught my son some sticky hands, and we became close, very, very close.
Yeah.
I ended up travelling the world with Sifu to many countries, been to America, been to Portugal, been everywhere with Sifu, and helping him teach. And he's like, I think it was the evangelist of Wing Chun he was known as at one point, and that's exactly what he is. He lives and breathes Wing Chun. Yeah. And it's very, very toxic. Not toxic, that's not the word. But when you absorb it off of somebody, what's it when you get it off of somebody?
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what I mean.
So, and he passes that passion across to you.
Yeah.
And even with everything else in life, Wing Chun is the way forward. Yeah. And he's a very good teacher. Sometimes you've got to read between the lines, because obviously there's a bit of translation difference. Yeah. Because obviously being Chinese to an English person. And I remember going through the dummy form one particular time. I came away with blood everywhere, because he made me drill and drill and drill certain techniques. And it's just been fun. We've had a few tears, as well, because of my friend passing away. But yeah, it's been awesome. Samuel's a great guy. Yeah. Could be misunderstood by a lot. Everybody's perfect. No, but still a great guy.
Wing Chun. He's my Sifu as well. Yes. So basically, what do you feel? Because Wing Chun, as you said, wasn't around in the '74 time. Yes. So people like us did struggle to find it. Yes. What do you feel in these days Wing Chun delivers to people that are sometimes looking for the kicking and the other stuff like that? What do you feel as though the Wing Chun basic is there? What does it deliver to them? Especially to women, because it was devised by a woman.
It was, yeah, that's correct. It was devised by a woman. I think it teaches you, even though it's teaching you an art of war, it teaches you to maintain peace. So I think it is, again, the form Sun Tao, for instance, it could be done in many ways. First of all, when you first learn it, you learn it with full tension, which, as we know in Wing Chun, there is no tension, it's all relaxed. But that first section in Sun Tao is all full tension. But when you revisit it, each time you go up a grade, and then when you get to like a black sash level, which is Mukyang Jong or the Jong level, you start to revisit the form, using it as maybe a breathing, use it for breathing, or using it for energy on off, or use it as a meditation form. There are many ways to use the form. And I think what's fantastic about it is it's not about fighting. It is, but it's also about learning to control ourselves, our own mentality, having self-belief, bringing the confidence in out of ourselves. It makes us stronger. It makes us more flexible. Again, just a simple rotation technique. If you notice, my whole arm and shoulders and every joint is moving. And when we do this within the form and pull back, it's helping us manipulate our muscles, tendons and everything to keep them stretched and flexible. Again, giving longevity to life. And when you look at Yip Chun, still teaching, well, I think he's 100 now. Yeah. And he's still, I think he may have just stepped back from teaching, but he was teaching up to 99, 100 years old in Hong Kong. So it shows there's something, I thought, something there. There's something definitely there, yeah.
Talking about the Bruce Lee level, what do you think Bruce Lee saw in Wing Chun?
Bruce Lee, from what I can, again, from stories I've read that have been translated by Yip Man, stories I've had through Samuel Kwok, Vieira, Ip Chun, who were there with Bruce Lee at the time. Bruce was always after something. He was loved to street fight. He was fascinated by the speed and the fighting, and he'd lost so many fights. People don't realise that to lose is to start to win. You've got to lose enough to realise of where your faults are to start to begin to win again. So there's a lot of rooftop. There's a few videos of Bruce Lee getting knocked on his bum and stuff like that. And he used to go out and get his mates to analyse what happened. Why did he lose? Or why did he get punched? He gets people to watch it. And he got some people to film stuff to see why did he lose. He then got introduced, obviously, his father was in the shows and was an actor, but also learned, I can't remember what style it was, of Kung Fu, and taught him bits and pieces of that. And then he got introduced through his family to Yip Man. And he found with the Wing Chun system, he learnt it and developed it very, very quickly. For such a young age, he only did it for 4 years. So to come on, he learned the first two forms of Sunim Tao and Sham Kyu and left it there. But that gave him enough to realise and see. And what it does is it opens your mind to see what's ahead. So he then all of a sudden created Jeet Kune Do through it, obviously through his accident and bits and pieces. I don't think he did break his back. I think that was just for the film, but I know he was injured in some way and gave him a bit of time to sort of look at what was going on. Now, when you look at Jeet Kune Do, he raves on about to get rid of fixed positions, forms, make everything become formless. This is what he said: "Be water, my friend. Be formless." But we also had that in the Wing Chun system with Bu Xi. Bu Xi teaches us to be formless. It shows us how to come out of form and how to come out of fixed position to then go back into it. And that's what Bu Xi is about. That's why it's known as also the emergency form. So in a way, I'm unsure if Bruce Lee had carried on with the Wing Chun system, would JKD ever exist? It's something we'll never know.
No,
because obviously it didn't. I know years later, I believe he went back to Yip Man and asked him to, I think he offered to buy my house to teach him the dummy, and he was refused to because he was teaching the Guaylo, the white man. And there was a lot of controversy with the Chinese and the Guaylo back then in those days. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. But yeah, Bruce, and again, he's a bit Sagittarius like myself, so an air of arrogance, maybe. Strive for perfection, strive to be loved, like we all do. And just a normal guy, but ahead of his time and very lucky. I think if he was around today, he wouldn't have been the success he was back then. I think he was born at the right time in the right place.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Peter, you've also been very, very, how could I say, active in combat survival.
I have, yes.
Could you tell us how you got involved with that and how successful it is, and why you feel that people, especially in these days, and we're getting this awful scenario of people getting stabbed every day and knives being brought out when people don't understand knives and stuff like that. Why do you think that it might be important now for everybody to at least have some kind of combat and survival trained?
Again, when we come this, we could open a whole pot of worms here, really. With combat survival training, what I've taken is the knowledge of what I have. Similar to what Yip Man did, he modified it for his time and era, taking it from the 16 forms originally, taking it down to the 4 open hand and the 2 weapons forms. So you've got Yip Man application of the application that Yip Man saw of what each technique would do back then. What I have tried to do is take and modernise the application to what it would be today, because again, back then was just more long fist, sort of karate, long fist, Shaolin type styles, and a bit of hooks. And boxing was sort of coming into a bit of fashion then, so you started getting a few hooks and uppercuts and bits and pieces. But it's more now with the MMA, the mixed martial arts and everything, you're getting hit from every angle. So to train and defend everything is very difficult. A knife is just an extension of the hand. However, as an instructor, if I'm going to put my instructor's head on, I would not teach knife defense at a seminar. All right, because I wouldn't want somebody to think I'm a little bit confident. Somebody pulls a knife on me. Let's give it a go. I learned this at a seminar. You must run, because if you are going to go against a knife, you will get stabbed and you will get slashed unless you're very lucky. But 99.9% of the time, you're going to get stabbed or slashed. What we can do with the knife defense when we do train it, when we have to, it's like a tier 1 operators sort of level. You would train it on the fact it's minimal damage to your body. So try not to get stabbed in the main square of the body. We try and take it on the bigger parts of the muscles, even though we won't want to. That's if we had to, that's what we'd do. So normally I would teach everybody to run. Now, I could kill the business dead about self-defense and everything else, because what you've got to look at is, why does anybody need to learn to fight? I asked this question yesterday in my seminar. I said, why are you here? What are you learning to do? Why do you want to fight people? I said, you're in a self-defense zone, which I don't teach self-defense. I teach it, it's gone past the point of the defense, and that you've got to take them out for if you fear for your life. That's the angle I teach them. If you fear for your life, it's your life or their life. You've heard of a last line of defense with anything, whether it be an army, martial arts, or anything. If you get to that last line of defense where you have to fight, you've done something very wrong. Okay? If you use 3 things beforehand, one is situation awareness, one is self-risk assessment, and one is body language assessment. Those 3 things, 90% of the time, will get you out of getting to that last line of defense where you've got to fight. And what I mean by that is say you're a young lad or a young girl and you're thinking, right, I'm going to have a night out, gone out with the boys, I'm going to get hammered tonight. So do you just get hammered and think, oh, I'll get a jump in a cab on my own, or I'll walk home, or I'll thumb a lift? Oh, I'm going to walk into the underpass half drunk where there could be people heading. So what you can do is you can do your own risk assessment, think, right, I'm going to go out and get drunk. However, Dad, do you know any decent cab companies? Right, so you get a reputable cab company, or Dad, can you pick me up? So that you know at the end of the night you're covered to get home safely. Rather than thinking, I'm the man, I don't fear anybody, I can walk home, and there may be 20 youths on a corner, or 20 old people, not putting youths in that category, or anybody. However, there could be somebody there that could endure and upset your fun. But then, even if you are walking home, you've still then got body language assessment. If they've all got hoods up, stood in a bit dark shadows, you know not to walk that way. Try and walk a different way, and so on and so forth. So again, you're avoiding getting to that last line of defense where you have to defend yourself. That's what I'd be learning, is that first bit of how to avoid it before it happens. When you get to that, anything can happen, and you can get stabbed. I wish instructors would think, I'm not going to teach knife defense to people, especially when it's wrong. You know, it's not just a case of if a knife comes in. That's very laboratory. That's very, well, you stood there. Anybody can defend it if you just stood there. Yeah. When a knife's coming at you like a sewing machine, being stabbed and jabbed and sliced, you know, you've got very little chance of defending it. And unfortunately, yes, in the world today, there are people that carry knives. But I don't know statistically, well, I do know quite statistically, most people who carry a knife end up getting stabbed with their own knife. Yeah. They do, it's a true fact. They got a knife, and they end up getting in a hustle, and then they end up getting stabbed with their own knife. Because it's, again, the guy with the knife hasn't got the mindset of the person in fear of his life. When you're in fear of your life, your adrenaline overtakes and gives you more of that natural instinct to survive. Whereas this guy here with the knife hasn't got that mindset right now. And then all of a sudden it'll overtake, then it will kick in, and he's probably stabbed to death in that time. There are things even worse than knives that people are doing now. They're getting umbrella spokes out of umbrellas, and they're stabbing them into people. And what's happening is their lungs are filling up with blood, and the ambulance man doesn't know what's going on because it's a tiny little hole. I've seen a lot of that, heard a lot of stories, horror stories. I heard one today, they're using bicycle spokes. Again, same thing, trying to do it. Why are they doing it? So it's not even, it's proper stabbing, how to kill people for real. You know, and it is a horrible world we live in. But again, 20, 30 years ago, we had knives. There was knives everywhere. Still knives, nothing's changed. You know, we do all the amnesty, put the knives in, but kitchen knives, your household knives, any kid can have access to a knife. Yeah, of course they can. It's a shame. So how can we stop it? I don't think you can. No. Yeah.
Let's not go there. Let's lift it.
Let's leave it there, yeah.
Yeah. So we've seen Sifu. He's been in a couple of movies. Have you helped him in any of in the movies at any time? Or
I have. I went to San Diego with him.
All right.
I had a meeting with Art Camacho, and I was Sifu's fall guy.
All right.
Now, unfortunately, back then, Sifu didn't understand the concept of not real.
All right. Yes.
So when he's striking me in front of Art Camacho and kicking me, and I'm doing all my flips and falls to get like I'm being hit. I was actually being hit.
Oh,
And Art Commander said, "Wow, this is fantastic. You look fantastic."
was that a film called Master X or something?
It's called The Chemist. I think
Oh, The
it was
Chemist.
changed to.
Yeah, yes.
But that was the Art Komatsu one.
Yeah.
And Art Komatsu obviously famous for Steven Seagal films.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
being a great, he's a big director. I saw a film on the telly the other night. It was directed by Art Komatsu. Absolutely lovely man.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful guy. And we had a great bit of fun with him in San Diego.
Yeah. So to wind it up, where's your path now, Peter? Where do you want to go?
Well, I'm still active in different bits and pieces with what I do. We've got a school, martial arts school near Milton Keynes, which is still going. My background, close protection. I do a lot of CP work, close protection, overseas work, looking after people from celebrities, diplomats, and everything else. So we're setting up a school overseas, which will teach you up to like a level 7, and HECPO, which is high risk environment, close protection operator. So we are running courses for that soon. My friend and business partner, Reda Maduru, he's just bought a place now in Geneva, which is being set up as a sort of a range killing house, a bit of a CQB, so that we can get down there. So we do all the fibula stuff, fibula fighting in built-up areas, and door kicking and clearing rooms and clearing houses and all that sort of Gucci stuff as well, which people seem to love to be doing these days. So yeah, get more involved with that. Starting a little charity as well, which I'm working on at the moment, which is going to be to get veterans off the street, military veterans. And I'm working with Bedfordshire Council at the moment on that. So again, watch his space. Can't say too much more on that, but that's where we're going.
Peter, thank you very much for your time, sir.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.